we lost all connection there.
Yeah, but good news is
We're
Tyler's camera's back.
You can see me.
We're sorry, Beck. We weren't trying to make fun of you. We really
we
weren't.
jinxed ourselves with that one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So that was
We're
a bad
trying
deal.
to be sympathetic.
Yeah, we were, because we totally understand how these things work.
Oh gosh.
We're sorry about that, and I know that it's probably frustrating to you as the viewer when stuff like that happens. We are actually we've been literally upgrading software to try to create a more stable environment, and the software that we use right now is that of professionals that use for streaming and stuff like this all the time. It's good software, and somehow one of our cameras blanked out, and when we tried to fix it, it force quit the software, so it just shut down. And obviously when that happened, it took us offline. So we apologize about that, and we will look into it more and continue to try to make a more reliable stream, so that way you guys don't feel like you have to put up with a bunch of nonsense when you're trying to look at this stuff. That being said, you were talking about the we just got done covering the governor debates, and we were moving on to really previewing the town hall.
Yeah, we were talking about District 38. Lisa Hermosillo is running against Dan Ruby and Christina Wolf. Dan Ruby been incumbent for, I believe, 24 years. Christina Wolf,
I think his first voted in 2000.
Yep, and Christina Wolf's first time on the ballot.
So it's interesting because you go before 2000, and it's really hard to find the voting breakdown.
Yeah, the Secretary of State website only goes back so far. I feel like you almost have to start looking for newspapers at that point. 2
pages of documents, 2-page PDF, which just shows state issues.
Just totals. Yeah.
On the state level, yeah.
Yeah, doesn't break down anything. You can't go into like county.
So you can see the measures, you can see stuff like that, but you won't see who got voted in a district.
Yep. And figure it out, Secretary of State website. Yeah, I want my 1996 governor race.
No, I kind of do. We are just kind of...
Unironically, I would love to look at 1992's governor race where Ed Schaefer won after not having a Republican in office for like 40 years.
Okay, gotcha.
That's a whole different argument and conversation there, too.
Whole other subject.
Yep. And, but... Yeah, and then in District 40, you have Alexandra Doifel, Democrat, is going to be on tonight. She is running against first-timer Macy Blinsky and also incumbent Matt Ruby, who is son of Dan Ruby in District 38. Matt's been there for a couple terms now. And
yeah, I don't remember his for sure.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know we mentioned it before. Regardless, they're going to be running against Alexandra Doifel in District 40. Do you have anything exciting to look forward to tonight?
So the way that we're going to do it is that we'll have one-on-one with each candidate. I think it's best that way. We'll be able to get to know them the best, and the questions can be more applicable. We're going to talk about a lot of the hot topics that you would anticipate, abortion, stuff like that we see coming up in discussions on the Democratic side, and also that are very passionate on the Republican side. Another one that we'll talk about is property tax. This is a huge deal. And there's been some ideas presented on both sides that we'll see how they would work. I guess we won't see how they will work out, but we'll at least talk about how they will play out theoretically. So I think that's interesting. Lisa has been doing some homework. I know that in some of her stuff that she's been putting out, it has been analyzing Representative Dan Ruby's voting record from the last 24 years. And so I'm sure some of that is going to lead into the discussion tonight in some of the points that she makes, I would anticipate. So it'll be interesting to hear some takes on that.
Without a doubt.
And you can go back and watch the interviews that we did with Lisa and that we did with Alexandra earlier this year, and that'll probably also help give you insight into the discussion. I know that the interview that I had with Lisa, I was very impressed by the discussion that I had with her.
Sure.
Earlier this year. It made me consider a few things. And so pretty excited to have those discussions again. And this time having the ability for the viewers to chime in as well.
Without a doubt. I'm interested to see their opinions on how they think they can win personally in some districts that are very solidly Republican.
Yeah, so that's what I was kind of doing research yesterday on and going back. And obviously, first off, you know that Ruby's been in since 2000 in District 38. So you know that a Democrat hasn't been in. And Blue, who was with him for a lot of that time, and there's somebody before him as well. before Blue that was running as well. But they were getting close to the same number of votes. They weren't exactly the same number, but they were close to the same number of votes.
Mm-hmm.
You had a couple tight races. If you go back far enough, around 2008, Obama's time,
Mm-hmm.
You had a closer race where it's like within 1,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's close. You're looking at probably like 5,500 votes is the total amount that one candidate can get essentially in District 38. And so typically the split is 35-15 or 32-18,
kind of
you know,
thing,
in there.
yeah. Seeing a Democratic candidate get over 20% of the vote in that district isn't a very common thing.
So if you go back to the 2008 timeframe and a little bit earlier, then you were seeing under 3,000 for the Republican, and you were seeing right around 2,000 or a little bit higher for the Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was interesting to see. Obviously, at that time, in my opinion, the way that I see things, the Democratic politics were a little bit different on that side of the party. And
without a doubt.
And so it's going to be interesting to see where Lisa stacks up in that whole mix to see where she would place it, if she's more of that throwback or if she's the modern day Democrat, which they're good people. They're fine, but I think they're a little more progressive now. And I think that style of politics struggles in the Minot area.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think we've seen that, especially in voting from past few cycles on presidential elections, especially. You'll have, I think if you go back to 2008, you had quite a few counties in the state that voted Democratic, large and in majority. And ever since then, you typically have about maybe three that vote Democratic on a statewide level. So you break that down into Minot, which is a lot of times can be more conservative than a lot of those anyways. And you don't see the Ward County or Minot very often straying into Democratic territory. So I'm very interested to see how they think they can pursue a win this fall.
Right, yeah. It'll be interesting for sure. I think that kind of leads, unless there's something more you want to drop with that kind of leads to the next discussion.
Yeah. Want to segue into that one?
You ready for this?
You go for it. You can lead into it.
So I just don't know about this whole. So I'm on X the other day. Okay, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I see this post or this tweet by Rob Port. And it said...
Big media personality.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give it to you, Rob. Rob, people know you. We don't got to introduce Rob, right?
If you're watching us, I assume you probably have a good idea who Rob Port is.
And he has this post that says basically, I'm a conservative, and this isn't verbatim. I could pull it up, but the gist of it is, okay, read it.
I've repeatedly publicly said I wasn't going to. I talked about it on the podcast, yada, yada, yada. I voted none of the above.
But this is the tweet?
Oh, excuse me. This is the article.
The
tweet.
The actual tweet.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the actual tweet was like basically, I'm a conservative, and I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
I filled in the ovals in every other race, voting a straight Republican ticket. Then this is from the article. Then looking at the blanks in the presidential race, I almost impulsively filled in the circle next to Kamala Harris.
Well, he's a good writer.
Yes, he is. And Rob Port voting Republican straight line with the exception of president. He's voting Kamala Harris. And if you followed Rob Port over the last 4 to 8 years, he's been a very heavy he strongly went against Donald Trump in the last 8 years. Right. He's been a proponent against him largely. He's not a fan, clearly. And his biggest argument, I know, for this is, what did he say? Something along the lines of, to best be able to participate in your democracy, you should vote your conscience and not be bound by party lines, which I think is a fair sentiment, and I agree with that. However, I think the biggest thing that we have in this it's not voting against party lines, it's ideology.
Yeah.
And how can we how loosely do we define our ideology? If you're conservative, I don't know how you can bend that enough to be able to vote for Kamala Harris.
Right. That's basically where it comes down to me is I don't mind the fact that he chose to vote for Kamala. Like that's his choice, right? He can make that choice. The problem that I have is the portion where you're saying, well, I'm a conservative and I'm voting for Kamala. I think you can be Republican and vote for Kamala. I think you can identify as a Republican. And on their podcast, he and Chad Oban, it said he's right of center, I'm left of center. That's fine. Okay.
By all means.
But just because you're right of center, in my opinion, that doesn't make you a conservative.
I don't think center-right politics is conservative politics.
Not anymore.
Not in today's day and age.
Right.
In today's modern politics.
So like, I have no problem with you voting. And there was something said like this: if you feel like you always have to vote for one side, that's not a democracy. Agreed. Like, you should feel like you can vote for each side. Matter of fact, I think it would be good if you looked at candidates without the letter next to their name and made your decision based on that. You sit down and you actually look at the candidate and you say, this person aligns with my values. This is what I would like to see.
Yeah.
Great. You made that decision
Perfect.
without politics
Yeah.
being the deciding factor, without which party they're part of being the deciding factor. But that doesn't make you a conservative, or that doesn't make you a liberal.
Sure.
What your beliefs are make you that. And if your beliefs say, I can't vote for Trump, that's fine.
Yeah. 100%.
That's fine. But there's no way that it makes sense to me for you to be able to call yourself a conservative and vote for somebody that goes against conservative principles. I don't see how you can
Yeah, that's the hard one for me.
be a conservative then.
Yeah. Yeah, like you because like you're saying, you can be a Republican and you can vote across the lines. You can be someone that's center right and vote for someone that's progressive. But if you're going to be conservative, I feel like there are a few hard stops that would prevent you from voting for Harris.
Yeah.
I feel, if I'm just being open, abortion's one.
Yep.
And I feel like budget should be another.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think she's come anywhere close to saying she's for balancing a budget,
Right.
which conservatives are iffy on that anymore anyways, but that's a whole different argument. And obviously abortion is a huge one on that matter.
I think, well, I agree with you that you can go into war, you can go into budgets, you can go into those things. You can see how the relief for Ukraine, and I know that there's a major discussion with that. We had an interview with Senator Kevin Cramer, and he's like, yeah, we should be involved in this war in the capacity that we are, because it is important that these conflicts don't grow to the point where we have to send over troops and actually be actively involved in them.
Yep.
And so you have the argument that the Republicans are making, even if I personally don't agree, or if I do agree. It's a
However it might play out.
very interesting topic right there. A very detailed topic with a lot of
nuances
to it. But
because they're two different situations too. Israel and Ukraine,
very
it's different
different
ball games, frankly. But
and I think you have a conservative value would be always support Israel.
Yeah.
I think that's basically
generally speaking,
part of a strong conservative is basically going to lean that way.
Yeah.
I understand if Israel truly goes off the rails, which some would make the argument that they are right now. That's
again a different conversation.
A different conversation than what I'm really trying to dive into. But Kamala, and she has said some things that felt like she was a little bit pro-Israel, but it hasn't felt like she's been strong on Israel. It feels like you're really not sure where she's at.
No, not even compared to what Biden is.
Yes. So I think,
and I think you're right with that. You make a good point. I think she has left things very ambiguous as to how she stands on that matter, because so much of her base is anti-Israel and pro-Palestine, but so much of her party and a lot of her support is pro-Israel. So
yeah, right.
I
so
feel
she intentionally has left it ambiguous so she can keep the progressive or the very liberal side of the party while also trying to get the base and potentially some right of center Republicans.
Exactly.
So very, very interesting take there. I think it's off. And so on his podcast, then he says, I received, I probably surprised some Democrats, and I'm gonna just say this: the Republicans weren't surprised, Rob. The Republicans were not surprised that follow you, and if the Democrats that follow you were surprised, then that's just because somehow you have misled them, in my opinion, because there's a lot of stuff that comes out of the columns and stuff that is going on, or that the Inform that Rob is writing that isn't necessarily Republican friendly. That being said, like, not everything is. I think he takes a lot of heat,
Yeah,
and sometimes it's unnecessary.
He had a great article the other week, I think. It was
Yeah.
talking about the state of North Dakota buying the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, there you go. That was a pretty good one. I saw that as well come out. I was like, oh, well played. It'd be interesting.
That's a whole different conversation too,
Yeah.
though. But
Definitely is.
But he is able to have that different level of articles he can write. But like you say, I think a lot of them, he says he's center right. A lot of the feel to him, I followed him for a number of years now.
Okay.
To his articles aren't necessarily center right. I feel like they're more center left, but what do I know?
Right.
That's just the
What do I
general
know?
feel. Because, I mean, he says he voted a straight Republican ticket. So, I mean, by all means.
But
I'm not arguing
so that brings up the problem with the Republican Party in North Dakota, though.
There you go.
Because the problem with the Republican Party, and we've talked about this before, so we don't need to go in depth on this, but a few years ago, and I've talked with like several people, and it keeps coming up, and it really annoys me. Now, at this point, I don't really like the topic, if I'm being honest. It's when they go and they say, we decided a few years ago we were going to have a big tent. We were going to have this big tent philosophy where we were going to get everybody that we could involved, and we were just going to welcome them. And that's great. Like, I agree with that in principle. But the problem is, in the principle that I agree on it is, I don't think we should be like, oh, you
should try to be as inclusive as you can. You should want to have the more people, the better, in theory.
But whenever you're having that, you have to make sure you stay true to your values.
Yep.
And what has happened is the Republican Party has grown so much, and it has lost. It's losing its base. It doesn't know who it is, and that's why you see this imparting fighting and all that stuff. You begin to lose that, and Zach has a point on there.
I can't read it. I'm blind.
And Zach says, because Donald Trump goes further against principles than Harris does. He disrupted the peaceful transfer of power for the first time ever and still won't concede an election he lost. I think it's understandable for Portnoy to want that as chief executive. And the deal with that, Zach, is I 100% agree with on those, and some of those have been much conversed about. Okay, so let that be that. But my deal was not that Port should have to feel like he has to vote for Trump. Yeah. He does not have to vote for Trump. I just don't see how you can call yourself a conservative and then vote for values that directly go against core fundamentals of being a conservative. Yeah. So if somebody chose not to vote for Trump because they don't agree with how he left personality or personal actions, totally respect that. That's fine. Don't vote for him. But don't go and say you're a conservative and voting for Kamala, because that cannot go together. You can say you're a Republican and voting for Kamala. Like, hey, I voted Republican on everything else, but I could not vote for Republican on this because of that. And I get, like, maybe you think that it sounds like we're playing with semantics here. I don't feel like we are. I feel like being a conservative. So me personally, I am a conservative. I said that before. I am a conservative. Okay. And I'm more conservative than what people might even think should be. I have no idea. But I am not a Republican first. I'm a conservative first. If I feel like something violates those conservative principles far enough, then I will not vote for that. Then I would be like, okay, I can't vote for that. But that does not mean in return, I'm going to vote for something that in other areas has less. It might mean that you can't vote for one of the Republican or one of the main party candidates. That might be what it means.
Because I know in his article he was talking about, too, in 2016 and 2020, he didn't vote for president. So
okay, so right there, that's the action. I respect that action, honestly. I do. I respect that action. I don't respect it when it gets to the point of going and voting for
Harris at that point. Yeah, she's
my.
Yeah, because that's the thing, and yeah, you can, like Jonathan said, you can say we're playing with semantics, how we loosely or hardline we want to define ideology at this point, but I feel like Kamala Harris is one of the furthest things from even remotely being defined as conservative, and yeah. I don't even know how conservative Donald Trump is, but that's a whole different argument in and of itself as well. And so I fully agree with the take that you don't have to vote for Trump if you don't agree with him because you're conservative or you're Republican. And I also think Jonathan makes a great point. That doesn't mean you have to vote for the other person. And this, I mean, here's a little fun hill too. There are other options, of course. This is the classic cyclical event of, well, why don't you vote for third party? They never win. Why don't they ever win? Because no one votes for them. And not saying you should vote for Chase Oliver in 2024 by any stretch, but just saying there are other options, and you don't have to vote for one just to vote against the other.
One thing that does stink is it does feel like that, I don't know who will agree with me on this, but it feels like in 2024 we had the opportunity to have a very strong third party candidate in RFK.
Yeah.
And the part that people won't agree with me on is he claims that the Democrats put a lot of obstacles in his path because of how he had his falling out with the Democratic Party, and that's probably true.
Sure.
But definitely interesting there. Zach, sometime you should join us on one of these podcasts. Yeah. We should just have a great time together. It'd
be fun to catch up, Zach.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of experience since the last time we talked. It'd be fun to catch up and have you on one of the Minot talks.
It would be. So interesting deal that came out of the world of news.
Yeah.
And with all due respect, because
Rob Port does a great job generally. He's incredibly informative and well informed himself.
Yeah, he's well informed and has a great thing going on over there.
He follows state politics about as closely as anyone in the state.
Yep. They did a lot of great debates over there. A lot of good things going on over there.
Yeah, check them out. Last Friday, they hosted a debate for the state superintendent.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find that anywhere else.
Yeah, between Heitkamp and Baszler. I think that's a fantastic thing. You should definitely check that out. But yeah, can't necessarily say I agree that he's a... I'm not going to say he's not a conservative, but I wouldn't say.
Chad Chalmers says Port is establishment. They go after who they fear, like Hendricks, Blessum, and Becker, and that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of discussion that can happen on that. And Zach, I see your comment there. We will. I have your email. We will reach out. So look forward to that. All right. That was an interesting spout.
That was a fun little segue for it.
Yeah. So now, believe it or not, that was not our hot takes, though.
No, that wasn't. We have a hot take segment.
that was it. Yeah. We need to get like an actual, actual intro to this segment. And should we do the deal, like do a spinoff of the hot wings deals where you had to eat wings or whatever?
That's the hot ones. Yeah.
The hot ones.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah, it seems like we could get creative.
For the hotter the take, the hotter the spice we have to do.
I hate spice too.
Oh, do you? I love it.
Yeah, no.
My stomach doesn't, but I do.
So,
what do you want to start or do you want me to?
No, you got to go first because I'm still deciding mine.
You still haven't picked it out? I was debating on changing it, but I'm going to stick with it. I just don't know how hot of a take it is. It's been reported on pretty well over the past few days. So.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, so this past weekend was opening pheasant season, not just in North Dakota, but also in the state of Minnesota. If you didn't know by chance, the governor of the state of Minnesota is running for vice president on the Democratic ticket, Mr. Tim Walz. And so he decided, he's claimed the whole time, he's a big outdoorsman, loves to hunt, fish, do all the things, former military guy. He claims he's big hunter. So it's opening pheasant day season. This is one of the probably 2-3 biggest days of the year. Naturally he's out hunting Saturday morning. Who's with him but a camera crew?
Actually,
it's classic. I mean, it's a politician. Why wouldn't you have
this time of season? The camera crews end up getting on both sides, being in very, very irregular places.
Exactly. So Tim Walz is out there. They're doing some walks, and there's a fantastic clip of him attempting to, I think, unload his shotgun. I can't even tell what he's doing, but he's fumbling around with the action on it, and he can't get the shell out, because I don't think he's trying to shove another one in there, but he can't get the shell out. It feels like he's trying to dig it out instead of just break it out. I can't tell what he's doing. So my hot take: Tim Walz can't actually hunt like he says he can.
Okay.
I feel like he is far exaggerating his outdoor skills. I think he has been a public school teacher, and I don't doubt that. He has lived in suburban Minnesota for decades. I don't think he has hunted nearly as much as he says he has in the last 20, 30 years. And I think the clip from Saturday proved it. And also, I can't confirm this, but I saw that they didn't get anything. So,
okay. So here's the deal. Because I thought about this after I saw your hot take. I was like, I'm just thankful that wasn't me, because I'd be in the same boat.
I understand. I haven't hunted in like 3-4 years. It's been a long time.
I can manage a rifle. Like I have a rifle, and I'm not great with it, but I can figure that thing out.
Sure.
But shotgun, man, that thing always throws me off a little bit.
You slowed them in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yep.
easy.
You just hit the button. You just
It's
hit.
It's right there, and you
just hit the button.
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
I've never had someone tell me that there was a button on a shotgun.
Some of them have, like, for the action. There's a little button right. It's like a switch. You hit it so you can manually break it so it doesn't.
A switch. That might be what they call it.
Probably a better term. No, I don't know. I'm not a gun expert by any stretch. I've hunted and fished, but I'm not an expert in it by any stretch.
Rob Fuller.
But I can tell you for a fact that Tim Waltz also isn't an expert at it.
Okay. So my hot take, and the point of the hot takes is sometimes we are going to have some political ones that
it's not always. I debated talking about the Minnesota Twins' new hitting coach that they hired, but I don't think that's
sometimes we won't. And so I'm going to go with a classic hot take, I think.
Go ahead.
Because I think it was this past week, I needed a snack, and the snack that presented itself the most to me was Skittles. And so it brought back the question, do all Skittles actually taste the same?
Yes. No, but yes.
Right, but I eat them by color. Do you eat them by color?
Yeah.
You have to eat them by color, right?
So.
Do you eat your M&Ms by color?
No. I don't. Why don't I? I'm just realizing this. I think Skittles do taste different. I think they do.
See,
I don't think M&Ms make a difference.
It has something to do with the coloring that they put on or whatever. It's some weird deal that they don't actually taste different. If they were all uncolored, they would taste the same. So basically they make the same. So basically they make the same Skittle, and then it's something with the covering that they put on.
Sure, I would remotely believe that the different
that's weird
covering shell has like a different little kind of flavor
weird?
Thing to it, and then all the gummy stuff inside is just sugar.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but
What do you
but I
think?
think it's right. Because they have to taste different.
I feel like they do.
And M&Ms don't taste different, but I still divide them up just like I divide up my fruit snacks. Everything has to be done like that. I'm not OCD.
No,
I'm not. I really ain't.
You knew what I was going
So
for.
have you seen my office? I'm not OCD.
That's fair.
Otherwise, I'd be going insane.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Our office got flooded and it's still not all the way back together like we'd like.
It looks a lot better though. You've made some fantastic progress.
It's coming along.
Yes.
Yep. But so I'm excited about this hot takes because they're not going to always be lame about Skittles.
This is the first one. We're going to roll into it.
Yeah.
And if you guys like it, let us know.
Yeah.
Or if you want us to if you have an idea for a little segment
they
like
probably,
this.
Yeah. So before this, though, if you have a hot take, we want to hear about your hot take.
Please. We'll talk about it.
We'd love to hear your hot takes.
We'll roast you for it, or we'll agree with it.
Yeah.
Please let us know. But or if you have an idea for a little segment like this, let us know too.
Absolutely.
I look forward to it.
I do too. So, moving on, we do have one more segment to go over, and that is some upcoming events going around town.
There's a lot in Minot this week. This is a big weekend in Minot for some reason.
Because tonight at 7 p.m., there's a virtual town hall.
You're darn tootin'.
Thursday at 8 a.m., there's Minot Talk.
Live and in color.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping that...
I hope it's in color. Gosh.
We're hoping that it's live.
Yeah, that too.
We've been struggling with it.
And there's audio, and you can see us all the way. And
we're
working on it.
isolating our technical difficulties.
We're figuring this out.
Better.
We're getting good at this, guys. I promise.
Me too.
But actually, other than on our end of it in town coming up here, there's one thing that I've seen on the event schedule for the past couple weeks that has intrigued me, and I haven't mentioned it yet. So there is an adult open gym going on at the Gemagic Center. So
what does that even mean?
Gemagic's adult open gym. It is for 18 people, 18 and older. It's $10 a person. Come over to Gemagic for a night of grown-up fun. You'll have free run of balance beams, floors, trampolines, and foam pits. So It sounds like it's for adults to go in and just have a blast falling on yourself trying to do gymnastics.
Sounds epic.
It is. Yeah, I think it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
It's October 18th. So that's Thursday or Friday. And it is at 7:30 p.m. It goes till 9 p.m.
Sounds good. So you're looking forward to that. You going?
Actually, I'm off then. Maybe I could. Now I'm tempted because I'm going to be in Bismarck this weekend, but Friday I'm still here. So Gemagic has an adult-only event coming up this Friday. You should check it out. If you go to it, let us know. I would love to hear what it's like. Maybe next week you'll find me at it. And also happened this week at the Spot, there's billiards lessons.
Okay.
So if you don't know how to play, that is October 16th. So that's tomorrow at from 4 to 7 p.m. You can learn to play 3 cushion billiards, and that's every Wednesday apparently at the spot. So check that out. They have a lot of fun stuff going on down there. All the pool tables, it's a blast. What
else going on?
There's a lot. I have a lot lined up for in town this week.
All about these things. I don't.
There's a bunch. One fun one. There's a Harry Potter escape room at the library this like Friday and Saturday for kids.
I'm not a fan of Harry Potter.
I loved Harry Potter growing up.
Well, I'm not a fan.
I'm not shocked. I would have. I think if you have kids and are even remotely into Harry Potter, check out the library this weekend. Couple other fun ones. There's a trunk or treat going on. Again, Gym Magic is hosting this. I think that's on Sunday. It's already almost Halloween time. One other one I kind of want to mention. Yes, got one more here for you. It's the night at the museum hanger dance. So
sounds epic.
It does. I think it does. If I wasn't going to Bismarck, I would definitely be there. It's Saturday night. It's at 7 p.m. So the Dakota Air Territory has an air museum. If you've never checked it out, it's just north of the airport. It's really fun to look at. They have a ton of old planes, and they're hosting a 20s to 50s themed dance where you're going to have, it's going to have dancing, like skits, obviously drinks and food. How much? It's $15 a person or $25 for a couple. I think that would be fun. Again, if I wasn't out of town Saturday, I would definitely be going to that.
Well, at the very minimum, sounds like Kyler has a lot of things that he thinks is fun in town this weekend.
I do. And people say there's nothing fun to do in Minot.
Just hang out with Kyler. You'll find all.
Well, that doesn't mean I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm a homebody.
Okay.
I love the idea of doing it, but actually doing it's a different ballgame.
That's a little bit too much right there.
But no, I think there's a lot of fun stuff coming up in town this weekend. Anything else you want to touch on, Jonathan?
No, I think we've had quite the...
We've had an eventful episode.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what was more eventful, the first one or the second one.
Part 1 or part 2. Take your pick.
It was kind of a bummer the way that happened. But nonetheless, it's been good.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I think it ended on a good conversation. We went over the governor's debates. Make sure if you haven't voted yet, make sure you get out and vote in November. Make sure you check us out here tonight. Jonathan is going to be live with Alexander Teufel and Lisa Hermosillo.
And do me a favor. Do us a favor. Respectfully.
Please.
Go to the YouTube page and hit subscribe.
Please.
We have this outlandish goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year.
It's possible.
It's possible. It may not happen. That's fine. But we definitely invite you to be a part of that. And if we hit 1,000 subscribers, then I don't know what we'll do, but we'll think of something.
We're going to do something. If we get to that,
we will
do
get
something.
Let's rephrase that. When we get to that.
Yes. If it gets to that by the end of this year, we're going to do something fun.
Yeah. We can either do a giveaway.
I'll sing like karaoke if you want to laugh or something.
We want something that people would enjoy.
Yeah, okay. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yes. Me making a fool isn't always enjoyable.
We could do a live taco eating contest.
Yeah. You want to actually watch us eat like hot wings?
Yeah, we could do hot takes. We could do our own hot wings segment.
Yeah, where we're just like sweating and half puking by the end. That could be fun.
I think I'd rather do a giveaway.
Subscribe.
This is a bad idea.
Oh, no, here's what happens. We put options out and we have the people vote on it.
They vote on it.
Yes, there we go.
It's a democracy after all.
It is.
Right?
You betcha.
Or is it constitutional republic?
Mob,
what is it?
How do we follow? Are we mob rule?
All right. Well, with that, thank you for watching this episode, and we'll see you tonight.